All right, let's check out a new video from Noah Samson. This is a bit of a long one. The Genocide Denial Streamers. Let's check it out.
At a time when Israel is killing Palestinians at unprecedented rates, at a time when Israel is bombing hospitals, ambulances, refugee camps, deliberately targeting journalists and their entire families, at a time when Israel has flattened most of Gaza, rendering it uninhabitable, there's a select group of individuals, we call them liberals, that aren't quite focused on that. They're more focused on making sure people don't call this genocide.
I think Israel's goal is to eliminate Hamas. I think they have the moral authority to do so. Unfortunately, there's a high cost right now of civilian casualties. I'm not sure there's any way to avoid that at the moment. I'm not sure there's any way to avoid that at the moment. I'm not sure there's any way to avoid that at the moment. I'm not sure there's any way to avoid that at the moment.
Yeah, there's just no way to avoid killing civilians at an alarming clip. There's no way to avoid deliberately targeting civilians using AI software and American intelligence. They followed evacuation orders and Israeli airstrike killed them the next day.
Their fighting force in the world does what Israel does when it comes to warning people about imminent attacks.
This guy, what's his name, Destiny?
D would honestly be a better White House spokesperson than the ones they have because he actually believes half the shit he says.
He's like some type of influencer, internet guy. He is one of the loudest of such liberals that really just don't like hearing the G word when we're talking about what Israel is doing right now. Destiny went on a Twitter storm the other day. We're going to read these tweets. We're going to see how he justifies this assertion. And yeah, that's today's video and hope you enjoy. If Israel wanted to genocide Palestinians, then they would only exist in the history books. Okay, yeah, so we see what's going on there. So because Israel
last I checked, it was two-thirds civilians, unavoidable, quote unquote. Here's the thing about that two-thirds civilians. There's no confirmation of the remaining one-third being Hamas operatives. There's zero confirmation of that. To say one-third of the casualties are Hamas, you would have to cut that one of two ways. That 10,000 of the 30,000 that have been killed are Hamas, or that there is an additional 10,000 on top of the 30,000 that have been killed. How the fuck are we going to like prove any of that without Israel presenting any of its evidence that it's actually doing any killings of Hamas operatives? From the day that they have started posting the numbers, Israel goes on public TV every night or state TV every night and says, here's how many terrorists we have killed. And the number of terrorists they say they have killed is just the Gazan Health Ministry's death toll of civilians. And they say, these are all of the people that we've killed, and say that they're terrorists. Because again, this is what Israel does to program its, to indoctrinate its citizenry into dehumanizing Palestinians, that there are no Palestinians, there are only terrorists and Arabs are terrorists. And I've said this always, if people who want to, go up to bat for Israel have a problem with the Gazan Health Ministry numbers, then they should take that up with Israel, because Israel uses those numbers.
If you read the UN's definition of genocide, any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group as such, killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction, in whole or in part, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, forced...
Right, and the reason that people who are in support of Palestine and have been for a long time, or at least now have a more nuanced perspective on it. B, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. The reason that Gaza has all of its resources, from food to water, electricity, telecommunications, its fishing routes, under occupation, under the control of the Israeli government, and the reason that all of the checkpoints and the constant surveillance and harassment that happen in the West Bank are there is for this: the continued psychological harm, the mental trauma of constantly being under occupation, never being able to breathe freely, to relax, to ease up on that constant pressure, is genocide. I keep hearing that from Zionists that a genocide means you killed everyone. The problem is that rationale doesn't hold up when you put that against the Holocaust. Every single Jewish person was not wiped from the face of the earth. Yeah. Also, that logic would apply to, like, you know, to First Nation and indigenous people of the, you know, Northern America. Are we suddenly going to say, like, no, you know, the Native Americans were not genocided? 60 million plus people living in this land? 2 million now? Not a genocide?
Forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. There's no requirement or stipulation for total annihilation. If that were the case, a lot of genocides, most genocides would not meet the definition. A notable one being the Holocaust. Yeah. The logic in this tweet implies that because some Jews survived the Holocaust, the Nazis must not have wanted it that bad, because if they had, they would have succeeded. Anybody else sense that? There's Hitler particles emanating from this tweet? Journalist Mehdi Hassan responded to that last tweet from Destiny, writing, "Per this argument, China isn't guilty of genocide in Xinjiang because the Uyghurs still exist. Same with Russia in Ukraine." And Destiny quote tweeted this, writing, "China is guilty of genocide because they are intentionally trying to eliminate a group of people, and it shows. There is no evidence of Israel doing this to Palestinians today. No evidence. Just, there's nothing." It's like, oh, shoot, okay. It feels weird. Everyone's like really up in arms about what's going on. Are they just making it up? Oh, hold on, hold the fort. I just found something on my computer. It's an 84-page document submitted to the International Court of Justice that outlines in detail with citations the plethora of evidence of Israel's genocidal actions and intent. They fell short of calling for a ceasefire, but they did order with near unanimous approval that Israel must halt any actions in Gaza that could constitute genocide, which
this is my problem with coverage of the ICJ ruling. Because as I see it, and I'm no law person, okay? I'm not a lawyer. I do not have a background in law. I have a background in sociology, right? My problem with the coverage of it is that what he just said there, they did not call for a ceasefire, but they told Israel to halt any actions that could constitute a genocide based on evidence presented by the South African, team of genocide. Based on evidence of genocide, they told Israel to halt any actions that could constitute a genocide, meaning that the court recognized acts of genocide, and instead of ruling that it is genocidal actions and intent, gave Israel an opportunity to stop instead of ruling that they're doing it and stopping them. Not tweeting anything dark or edgy about the dude who set himself on fire before this big upcoming debate has been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Yeah, we know. We know. That's probably the toughest thing you've gone through. We know.
Estimated 1,000 children that have lost one or both legs. Reports of Israeli forces using white phosphorus in densely populated areas. Even small amounts of white phosphorus can cause deep and severe burns, penetrating through the bone and capable of reigniting after initial treatment. There are no functioning hospitals in the north of Gaza, soon to be none in the south as well. Of the 12 that existed, only 7 are operational, such that injured persons are reduced to waiting to die, unable to seek surgery or medical treatment beyond first aid, dying slow, agonizing deaths from their injuries or from resultant infections. The extreme levels of bombardment and lack of any safe areas are also causing severe mental trauma in the Palestinian population in Gaza. Even before the latest onslaught, Palestinians in Gaza suffered severe trauma from prior attacks. 80% of Palestinian children experienced higher levels of emotional distress, demonstrating bedwetting and reactive mutism, and engaging in self-harm and suicidal thoughts. 11 weeks of relentless bombardment, displacement, and loss will necessarily have led to a further increase in those figures, particularly for the estimated tens of thousands of Palestinian children who have lost at least one parent and those who are the sole surviving members of their families. United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs reports video footage showing bruises and burns on the bodies of detainees. Images of mutilated and burned corpses alongside videos of armed attacks by Israeli soldiers filed as exclusive content from the Gaza Strip are reportedly circulated in Israel via a social media Telegram channel called 72 Versions Uncensored.
This is a picture of Palestinians praying for those who have been killed by Israel. In the accompanying post, the dead are compared to, quote, a large shipment of fresh baked goods straight from the shawarma. A comment reads, quote, I asked for a medium rare. make a new one. And then there's this. A dead body is being pulled by a vehicle across the sand. Kudos to our warriors who, despite the war, keep the beaches clean from unnecessary trash.
It is estimated that over 1.9 million Palestinians out of Gaza's population of 2.3 million
what
people...
What the goddamn fuck? You know, I think the reason that comments like that don't really shock me, they're disgusting and all. I think the reason that they don't really shock me is because I remember seeing and hearing what people were posting during the War on Terror. Yeah, that's us in 2002. Like, I remember my friends in, like, middle school saying similar shit. Right? Not with such creative descriptions, but the same dehumanizing language.
Approximately 85% of the population have been forced from their homes. There's nowhere safe for them to flee. Those who cannot leave or refuse to be displaced have been killed or at extreme risk of being killed in their homes. Israel is repeatedly issuing evacuation orders demanding that Palestinian civilians in certain areas of Gaza leave their homes for other areas. The first such order, issued on the 13th of October in 2023, demanded that 1.1 million Palestinians living or otherwise present in the north of Gaza, including Gaza City, move to the south of Gaza within a 24-hour window. The International Committee of the Red Cross warned that the evacuation directive, impacting approximately 36% of Gaza's territory, combined with the complete siege of Gaza, was not compatible with international humanitarian law. The world...
Yeah, Noah's doing a really good job to show how those debate bro streamers don't care about anyone except intellectual arguments. Well, pseudo-intellectual arguments. But the beautiful thing about this video is it's about genocide denial streamers, but the focus is on what's happening and not the debate bros and like countering every single argument they make. Just here is what is happening. This is the reality. These are the victims. These are their stories.